Good morning, everyone. My name is Clyde Williams with the Natural Resource Conservation Service here in Arkansas, and I am the Assistant State Conservationist for Programs. I want to welcome everyone to our hybrid NRCS Arkansas Ag Now Outreach meeting. This is what we like to consider the first of its kind being hybrid. We have encouraged our local field offices to conduct meetings within the county as this meeting is going on, and to conduct follow-up as soon as this meeting adjourns. So we know that there are some that may not be able to physically attend their local meeting that may be going on due to unforeseen circumstances, but we highly encourage you all who may be interested in applying for NRCS programs or just getting to know who we are. We encourage you all to follow up with your local field offices as soon as today or even sometime next week. So this morning, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about not only this new and exciting opportunity we have through Act Now, but also a little bit about who we are and our background and just how we got everything started with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So I won't prolong the agenda. We will now have opening comments from our state conservationist, Mike Sullivan.
Thanks, Clyde, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Arkansas Act Now outreach meeting for FY24. I understand we have a good group on board representing most of our field offices around the state, with our field employees, with interested producers and partners as well. This is a different type of a meeting designed with a specific purpose. Kennard's going to go through in a few minutes and talk about things that are of interest and what we want to accomplish and what we're about. But this is kind of a meeting within the meeting. We're starting here at the broad scale, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to have additional communication and input and dialogue locally. Our objective is to try and get information out to anybody that's interested in our programs, and especially this new and different way of doing things. Fortunately, here in Arkansas, we have progressive producers with a high demand for conservation, including technical assistance and the funding to help implement conservation practices. This year, we have more money than ever because of the additional funds from the Inflation Reduction Act. For EQIP, for example, we have nearly $90 million to use within Arkansas. Across all the program categories. And we have over $40 million in the Conservation Stewardship Program. Besides having more money, we've also heard concerns about the time it takes to go through the process to get into an EQIP contract. And so now we've heard those concerns, and we're sharing a new approach that we've tested and we've used called Act Now. It's not for all of our funding categories, but a few that will be discussed. We've identified the ones we think it'll work well for us this year and work well for producers. But it requires an understanding by NRCS staff as well as applicants, because it's different than our normal way of doing things. It requires actions sooner by applicants with quick follow-up by NRCS staff. Using this approach will help us to utilize the funds that are available to us this year to move faster into contract development and to get conservation practices on the ground sooner. I appreciate the work of our field staff to date in putting this together and into the future in making this work. Your field staff is your lifeline. They're the ones that are there to help assist, answer questions, and make this work. I also appreciate all of our support staff, our area staff, program staff, technical staff, and outreach staff. They're also here to assist our field staff and you as well. I know there's going to be questions. Please do not hesitate to ask those when you would like. Hopefully we'll have a mechanism for asking questions in the chat or raising your hand. If you don't get answers through this session or the local sessions, you can even contact me directly. We want to be available. We want to get the word out. So we look forward to communicating with you or any others that may not be with us today. I'm looking forward to this session, and to our results in the coming days and weeks, working through this new approach called Act Now. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We greatly appreciate that. We want to get started sharing our presentation. All right, so this is an overview of our agenda. We'll have meeting purpose and NRCS overview by Kennard Williams, FSA eligibility by Terry McManus. Basically, what is Act Now? I'll talk about that, and the opportunities we have here in Arkansas for FY24 by Corey Cornelius. So with that, we will lead into Mr. Kennard Williams.
Good morning. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Kennard Williams. I serve as the State Outreach Coordinator for Arkansas. I'm going to go just through some of the basics of what NRCS is about, what we do, what our goals and values are for NRCS. So as I start, with Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS work with farmers and ranchers and forest landowners across the country to help them boost agricultural productivity and to protect our natural resources through conservation. NRCS core values. Conservation is a wise use of management of natural resource. This is a voluntary approach. We're not a regulatory agency. We are a voluntary agency, and that approach that we work with our farmers and ranchers and forest managers as the decision makers. We use science and technology expertise are our foundation and must be current to maintain effectiveness and relevance. We use conservation systems must be practical and fit within the context of the operation. So we will work with those producers on the ground, on land, to address those resource concerns. Conservation is about systems, practice, and not just an individual-based management practices. So we'd like to go out and do evaluations on those farm operations, not just address one particular issue. We try to address the whole resource concern once we make that evaluation on the producer or that landowner operation. Additional conservation system values. Our conservation system provide both on-farm ranch benefits and off-farm ranch benefits benefiting, and we provide justification of the public sharing of the cost share. The conservation job is never done as it continues to change, as we address, as we have different challenges year to year. It may be from if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, you look at different weather, so it continues to change. So our job is never done. And we try to address those by technology, improving science, lesson learned, operational change, and economic consideration. If you look at the last 4 or 5 years, economics has changed big time on farm operations. We also try to, our conservation, agricultural productivity, and economic return are mutual compatible, not mutual exclusive. What we do, NRCS provide a one-on-one personalized advice on the best solution to meet the unique conservation and business goals of those growing our nation's food and fiber. So what our job is as NRCS, we actually come out and provide that one-on-one service. Each county, even though we have 61 counties in the state of Arkansas, we have somebody to address or to come out and meet our producers on the ground in all our counties in the state of Arkansas. So we're gonna do that one-on-one with all our producers. You just contact that local office and we'd be more than happy to come out and help one-on-one. NRCS, we help people make investments in their operation and local community to keep working lands working. We boost rural economics. We increase the competitive of American agriculture and improve the health of our air, water, soil, and habitat. NRCS generate and manage and share the data, the technology and standards that enable partners and policymakers to make decisions informed by the objective and reliable science. Some of the services that NRCS and services and programs we provide, our core value, if you look at number one, conservation technical assistant, that's conservation planning, we'll call it and you're here to say the acronym of CTA, but it stands for Conservation Technical Assistance. That's where NRCS started. As you know, we go back when we first started, based on the Dust Bowl, it was considered soil conservation services, and then in the mid-90s, we changed to Natural Resource Conservation Service. But before then, before we even start providing financial assistance, our core goal was CTA. We go out and do conservation on the ground. But now, as NRCS, we provide financial assistance on program on working land. We provide financial assistance on program for easements. We also now, as we have natural disasters and emergency assistance, we also provide that as well. And we do have watershed programs. And all of them are to address natural resource issues. What is a conservation plan? That's our basis that's our basis for NRCS. We start off with a conservation plan. Before we start looking at financial assistance, we look at conservation plan, and that's just a written record of a management decision and records of conservation practices and system. It documents the natural resource concerns being addressed on the farm operation. Conservation planning process, we're gonna go back to our 9 steps of planning that NRCS provides for all our customers, and this is our core basis, the 9 steps of planning. Phase 1, you're gonna collect. It's gonna be collection and analysis. That's identifying the problem, determining the objective, inventory the resources, and analyze the resource data will be your phase 1. Phase 2 would be your decision support. That's you're gonna formulate your alternative. After we do the field visit and evaluation, we're gonna come up with our alternative. We know the producers have a goal. We're also gonna go out and look at is any other resource concerns that we can address there out on that operation. So that's where we'll formulate that alternative, and then we'll evaluate that alternative, and then we'll sit there and we'll make a decision collectively. Phase 3, the last steps of the 9 steps of process, we'll implement the plan, and then we'll evaluate the plan. The conservation phase 1, that's where we'll go in and we'll look at the different resource concerns when we identify that problem. Those resource concerns could be your soil erosion, soil quality, degraded plant condition, livestock production, limitation, fish and wildlife habitat, water quality, water quantity, air quality, and inefficient energy use. Now, phase 2, that's where we go and come out on that, formulate that alternative and evaluate that alternative and make a decision with that producer. So that'll be your phase 2. We actually come out on the land. If you look at the graph there, that's a picture of the field. We're gonna actually go out and look at on site. That's what our DCs and soil cons will actually do in phase 2, come out and then evaluate and make that, and help to make that decision with the producer. Phase 3, this is where the application and evaluation, this is where we actually implement the plan. And once that plan is implemented, we'll actually go back and evaluate it. We'll see what worked, what don't work, once we're on that plan. And then we'll adjust accordingly. Assistance to implement the plan, the financial assistance, we have different programs where we can go and try to address different resource concerns or financially. We have our environmental quality incentive program, which is EQIP. This is the program that Act Now would fall under, would be under EQIP. We currently have conservation stewardship program, CSP. We also have the agricultural conservation easement program, ACEP. Wetland reserve easement, which is ACEP WRE. And we have some special initiative and special funding opportunities as well through NRCS. Other types of assistance, the emergency watershed protection program, that's where we have may have emergency storms come through, tornadoes come through, that we can come in and provide technical assistance to assist with that. The watershed flood and prevention program and watershed rehabilitation program. That's where we come in and do rehab on different sites. The steps to assistance. The 5 steps. Step 1 is planning. That's what we'll go through the 9 steps. Step 2 is the application. Step 3 is the eligibility. And we'll, a little bit later on the program, as you see, that we'll have Ms. Terry McManus come in and talk about some eligibility that you'll need to have to qualify for the EQIP program as well. The ranking and then implementation. The assistant in implementing the plan, we're going to talk about the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, since this is what the program that Act Now falls under. EQIP is a voluntary program that provides financial assistance to agriculture producers to implement conservation practices that improve natural resources and agricultural land on non-industrial private forestry land and private forestry land. EQIP eligibility. Who can apply? Owners, operators of land engaged in livestock operation, agricultural, and forest production are eligible land that have natural resource concerns on the land. Now, this is part of EQIP eligibility, but we do have some other programs that that it may not address all those at the time, like Act Now would be specific practices at the time, but we do still have regular EQIP available all at the same time as Act Now, so it may have a different sign up. Eligible participant must be an agriculture producer, have control of the land on eligible land, comply with adjusted gross income, which is AGI. Ms. Terry will talk about that a little bit later in her eligibility issues, eligibility for the program as well. Be in compliance with the highly erodible land and wetland conservation requirement. Develop an NRCS EQIP plan of operation to address at least one natural resource concern. An additional program requirement may apply. That last statement where it's additional program requirements may apply, that's where you get with your local DCs. They may, and they can also let you know what other items, the things that you may need to be eligible at that time from your local office. How EQIP work? It can be used to implement parts of a conservation plan. Financial assistance are made to implement approved conservation practices on eligible land to help producers develop conservation activity plans to address a specific land use issue. All practices must meet NRCS standards and specs. And what that does, all practices installed, NRCS will have expertise, and maybe a soil consultant or a technician or engineer to come out and actually check it and make sure it meets our specs on those practices. So producers don't feel like you're out there on your own, you don't have any help. You can always call and we'll be more than happy to assist you as you are installing and implementing those practices. Payments are made on completed practices and management activities. So when those practices are completed, we'll come out and certify those practices and make payments on them. Payment rates for conservation practice can be found on the Arkansas NRCS website. Contract length depends on the practice schedule, which is part of your conservation plan. Program timelines. Application practices differ by program, as we talk about Act Now, which is coming up later. Clyde and Corey will talk about. Act Now is a certain time that which it'll start next Monday, and it has 30 days, but some of our other program deadlines will be announced, but NRCS accept application on a continuous basis. So that means you can come in and sign up for regular EQIP anytime. It can be anytime. You can, if our office is open, you can sign up. Applications submitted after these dates, they'll be evaluated and considered as funds for funds during a later funding opportunity. Producers must submit a complete program application, establish farm record, and complete eligibility documentation to consider it as for financial assistance. And that's the end part of my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Kennard. Really want to get into and talk about Act Now. What is Act Now? So I'll read the first bullet. Act Now allows NRCS to immediately approve and obligate ranked applications in a designated ranking pool when an eligible application meets or exceeds the state determined minimum ranking score. So in a nutshell, we are really, really excited about Act Now. We've been able to use Act Now here in Arkansas over the past couple of years, but now we get to do it on a broader scale and dig much deeper with it. What does that mean? Typically, we have the typical normal deadline and timeline that we have for our normal signups. We have a 30-day sign-up period at least. We have a 30 to 60-day ranking and assessment period. And then there's another, after that, we make the funding selections. And then there's at least another 15 to 30 days of contracting and getting those contracts signed and obligated. So we're able to condense that time period where it takes up to 120 days. We're able to condense that to within a week time frame to where a participant or an applicant can actually sign a contract and begin to put that conservation on the ground. So Act Now is something that we're really excited about expanding, we're really passionate about, and from the feedback we've gotten from our field officers, they are excited about Act Now and how it really condenses that time frame. We're able to really help our producers get that conservation on the ground in a much quicker time frame. So now that I've gave an overview of Act Now and how it actually works, we'll now get into some of those opportunities with Corey Cornelius.
Good morning. I'm Corey Cornelius. I am the EQIP program manager on the NRCS program staff here in Arkansas. And I wanted to talk about the Act Now opportunities. As Clyde mentioned, we talked about Act Now and how it works. And it's something that we've done over the last couple of years. And now we wanted to extend it out a little more where we can provide more assistance through Act Now immediately to our producers and farmers here in the state of Arkansas. So with the Act Now sign up, generally with all our NRCS financial assistance programs, we accept applications year round, but with Act Now, we decided to announce a funding opportunity for these 3 opportunities that we have right now. And the sign-up period starts on Monday. The sign-up period starts on Monday morning, January 22nd, and it'll run through February the 2nd of this year.
5614. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
So the Act Now opportunities, we have 3 of them.
Not entered any numbers.
And we want to start with the first one, which is high tunnel. Those of you who are familiar with high tunnel is a practice that's been very popular here in the state of Arkansas. It's very vital into our urban ag small scale push that we've done here in the state of Arkansas for the last 2 years. And with this opportunity and this, we are paying assistance on high tunnels in this Act Now opportunity. So if once the sign-up period opens on Monday, January 22nd, any producer that or farmer or landowner that's interested in applying and implementing the high tunnel on your farm operation, we will have funds available. There is a assessment and ranking period that you have to go through when you sign up. Just make sure you come into your local field office, work with the district conservationists and the staff in that field office, and they would go through the assessment and the ranking period with you. But with this opportunity, we have at least $1 million available just strictly for paying assistance on high tunnels. The ranking threshold is 100 points. The field office, your local field office will go through that with you and let you know based on a few ranking questions that they assess with your operation, whether or not you meet that ranking threshold. And the way that Act Now works is we conduct Act Now on basically on a first come, first served basis. So when you come in and apply, you get put in the order as you meet the ranking threshold, and then we make selections based on that order until we have depleted all our funds. So high tunnel is the first opportunity I wanted to talk about. So the next opportunity is directly tied to our Inflation Reduction Act funds. And this opportunity, we are paying assistance on those producers who are interested in improving your soil and doing soil health on your farming operation. So as you see on the slides here, these are some of the practices that are available under the soil health funding opportunity. You have cover crop, you have your conservation crop rotation, nutrient management, your residue and tillage management practices, whether you're interested in doing no-till or reduced till. And then we also have a practice called soil carbon amendment. So these are the practices available for this opportunity. And with this opportunity, for these practices, we're looking to spend up to $9 million in this opportunity. So if any producers or farmers or landowners or operators out there that are interested in improving your soil health on your farm, this AgNow opportunity is available and we have up to $9 million. So our third and last AgNow opportunity for this year is also tied to our Inflation Reduction Act funds. And this is on the on-farm energy. And we have three primary practices that's available in this opportunity. And they are tied to making your operation more energy efficient, especially those poultry producers in the state. These practices go to improving your energy efficiency on your farm. So with this opportunity, we're looking at paying up to $9 million as well for these practices in this funding opportunity. And the ranking threshold with this one is set at 50 points. We think the threshold is gonna be quite achievable. So as you said, as we mentioned, January 22nd is the start of this opportunity. So just make sure that you go into your local field offices, apply, fill out your application, go through what you're interested in improving on your operation with these three opportunities. And then we'll go from there. The field offices will work with you and we'll see if we are able to provide assistance with these three opportunities to any of the producers here in the state of Arkansas. So collectively with these three opportunities, we're looking to spend up to $19 million in financial assistance just in these three opportunities alone. So this is probably more than triple than what we've done with AgNow over the past 2 years. So we actually excited about this right now, and we're looking forward to providing this assistance to all producers over the state of Arkansas. So just make sure that you contact your local field offices on Monday if you have interest in any of these practices.
All right, thanks, Corey. So we're gonna stop sharing now and we're gonna give Terry a chance to talk about FSA eligibility.
I am Terry McManus. I'm with the Farm Service Agency, and we have partnered with NRCS to collect eligibility documentation so that producers can participate in NRCS programs. And in order to do this, there are certain eligibility forms that need to be completed and returned to the FSA office so that when NRCS does your application, then all of this information is there ready for your application to be considered for eligibility. Some of the things that we are looking for are person foreign rules. We have AGI limitation that needs to be completed. And in order to do this, the forms for eligibility for AGI, your income is a CCC 941. This is a form that has to be completed each year to determine if you are within the adjusted gross income range. As far as a foreign person and attribution, those forms are a CCC 902. It depends if you are farming as an individual or an entity. We would need on this form a social security number if you're an individual. If you're an entity, then we need the tax identification number. We will need, if you are an entity, the members of this entity. So therefore, they will have to be required to provide us with either a social security number, or if it's a trust or an LLC, we would need those tax ID numbers. They have to also complete, the members of the entities, the adjusted gross income form. On the entity, it is the members that are in effect as of June 1st of each year. So take that into consideration. If you're looking at making changes to members, then they need to be completed and provided to FSA by the June 1st date. If you are an entity and you've never brought in documentation, if you are a corporation, LLC, something to that nature, then we would need a copy of the articles showing who the members are, who has authority to sign for these entities. So don't wait and put off bringing in these documents to your local FSA office, because we want your application to be processed timely. And so therefore, as soon as you decide you want to do a program participation with NRCS, go visit your local farm service agency to submit these documents. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Terry. Really appreciate that, as we know that that eligibility is vital with our program. So at this point, we have come to the end of the agenda, and now I'm going to call Kennard Williams and Corey Cornelius to come back, and we're going to take you all's questions and comments, and hopefully have some good dialogue before those who are holding the meeting locally get their meetings kicked off. So I see if you have your hand raised and you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask your question. And once you finish asking the question, please mute yourselves back. So I see we have one hand raised, so please proceed with your question.
Top of the day, how you doing?
Good morning.
My name is Mr. Fair. My question was regarding your energy efficient Act Now 3 options. Will they cover aquaponics and hydroponics operations? And also, my last question would be transparency in regards to eligibility, in regards to the way people are identified. Everyone is not identified in this term of person. And I think I spoke to this with some of your other colleagues in the past. As according to the definition of a person, an individual, an entity, a trust, and all those things are identified as a person according to the IRS. There is no transparency between those who identify as men and women or entities. So people that want to participate in your program that's just identified as men and women are not identified. And if so, where is this the transparency in that for those who can apply for the for the program. And I thank you again for taking my 2 questions.
Good morning, Mr. Fair. Let me address the first question on the on-farm energy. As it relates to hydroponics and aquaculture, at this time, this funding opportunity does not cover hydroponics. We are in the process right now with NRCS, with our scientific staff nationally, that's working on a standard to where we can pay assistance on hydroponics. So at this time, not in fiscal year 2024, that hasn't been developed yet, but we know that there's a push nationally for us to develop a standard where we can pay assistance on hydroponics and things of that nature. So as of now, we don't have assistance where we pay for hydroponics right now, but that is something that's in development right now that we are looking to pay assistance in the future on with our NRCS financial assistance programs.
Mr. Farrell, I'm gonna address the question number 2, which is the eligibility for an individual or entity. If you go back and refer back to all those questions would actually have to be addressed through Farm Service Agency. Our local office have usually be adjacent to a Farm Service Agency as an individual. What we do is NRCS, all our new participants, and so they first have to go to FSA for eligibility, and our system, our sister agency, their system and our system work together. So once you become eligible through FSA, then you're eligible for NRCS. So as an individual or entity, once you provide them all their data and documentation that they need to put you in the system as an eligible participant or producer, either regardless if it's an individual or a entity, FSA will establish that, and you end up taking your paper and documentations to that office as setting yourself up as an individual or an entity for eligibility. And our system feed off of that from NRCS, from Natural Resource Conservation Service. Are there any other questions? Travis, you have a question?
All right, I have a couple of producers here that do have questions on this.
Okay, it's Keisha here. I want to know for, well, I would like for the young lady with FSA to specify and let the new and beginning farmer, for new and beginning farmers, they also have to apply for a farming track number, correct?
That's correct. A farming track number, if you do not have a farming track number already on file. Yes, ma'am.
And that comes through, they have to go to FSA for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My other question was to explain or answer whether or not these practices are covered for urban.
Okay, Corey's gonna address that.
How you doing, Ms. Keisha? The high tunnel only, it's strictly for high tunnel. Now we are in the process of actually announcing an urban sign-up as well. So that'll be coming here soon in the next few weeks. So we will still have the urban sign-up that would be completely separate from these AGNI opportunities. So in a few weeks, we'll be announcing EQIP and CSP urban sign-up, just very similar to how we did it last year. So just stay tuned. We do have an urban sign-up that we're getting ready to announce. Yes, if you do have participants, or if you're a participant that is interested in high tunnel, you can sign up for the high tunnel right now, and you can, if you have other practices that you're interested in as an urban small farm producer, you can sign up those practices as well in the upcoming urban sign-up.
Did that answer your question, Ms. Keisha? All right, there any other questions?
Yeah, they asked about producers, but they're no longer on board for some reason. They got disconnected. They may come back.
Okay.
We have Eric Kirkland.
Mr. Kirkland, you have a question?
Yes, thank you for having me. I have two questions. The first question is, I am a small farm producer producing fruits and vegetables for the local community in a county that is designated as a food desert, as we only have one grocery store in the entire county, and it is an extremely rural county. In our first year of operation last year, we found it very difficult to get the word out that we were in the community providing fresh fruits and vegetables. And I was wondering if there is funding opportunities or technical opportunities that would assist in letting the community know that we are here with fresh fruits and vegetables available to them. And my second question is, what practices can I take on myself as a farm to increase my ability to rank with a higher score, i.e., I would like to have more bats on our property to take care of the fly population. And can I build those and install them myself and increase my ranking? Thank you.
Let me address your second question there about practices that you can apply for and increasing your ranking score. As I just mentioned, I think the upcoming urban sign up, I think would better fit you, Mr. Kirkland, as you are a small scale producer that's raising vegetables and produce in a food desert area. There will be a variety of practices that'll be available in that upcoming urban sign up. Some of those practices include high tunnel, like we paying right now with this opportunity with Act Now, but others such as micro irrigation, low tunnels, raised beds, other practices that may be suitable as a small scale vegetable and produce farmer. So just make sure that I'm not sure what county you in, but make sure you speak with your local NRCS office in the county that you're located in, and speak with the staff there and discuss some of the needs and concerns you have there in your farming operation, in your vegetable and produce farm, and they can explain to you different practices that may be available. But as I mentioned, the upcoming urban sign up is strictly and directly tied to producers like you, where you're raising vegetables in a food desert area and you're raising produce to help your community. So I think that sign up will better fit you. But also, if you do have a need for a high tunnel, please feel free to apply for that as well individually in this Act Now opportunity. So just be available when we announce the new urban sign up, and work with your local NRCS office in the county that you're located in.
Mr. Kirkland, to address your first question, now, Mr. Kirkland, can you tell me which county you're located in?
Yes, I can. I'm in Fulton County.
Fulton, okay. To address that first question about getting the word out about to producers that you're producing fresh fruits and vegetables in the community, in the county, I think the best thing to do on that part is work with your local conservation districts. They do have, and we partner with our local districts and organizations there in the county. You can also, as we do outreach meetings and be a part of those outreach meetings. I know they have different meetings in those counties from the extension office, and probably the ranchers, the cattlemen association, things like that. Those are meetings that you can get the word out, but I know our local conservation districts in those areas are very in touch with the community as well. And then we also have our local led process to try to address, they can address those resource concerns based on the, within that county through your local conservation districts. That'll probably be your best bet to get that word out that you provide and have those services available from your farm operation. Hopefully, did we address everything you needed, Mr. Kirkland?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. And I will certainly go down to the office and discuss with them all these opportunities, and hopefully we can do better to feed our community.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for your question. Are there any other questions out there?
Kennard, this is Lavelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't find a hand on it. Have the DC started notifying the participants that they need to do certain eligibilities, or are they just supposed to assume after this presentation they just start doing it? Because I know we got a number of applications made out there for years, but they may not know. So are the DCs notifying them?
Actually, Lavelle, to answer that question, today is the kickoff of Act Now. This is the whole goal and purpose of this meeting, is to try to get that word out. And our local DCs, and I'm hoping they're doing the outreach now to get that word out to those producers, because actually the way it worked, Lavelle, is just like it says, Act Now. They can't sign up before Monday because it's a new program to be on. It's a first come, first serve. Because these funds can potentially run out, even though it runs for 30 days. Funds can be out in a week or 2 weeks, but it's a first come, first serve. So by getting this information out, I actually have another phone interview today. We've been on the telephone, not telephone, but radio stations. We've been trying to get the word out through our local radio stations to get this word out because it's so important coming up for Monday. We've also been working with our partners as well to get the information out for us, Lavelle. And that's where some of the partners, including partnerships with different organizations, to get this word out by Monday. So it's very important to get it out. I know this week has been challenging because of the weather, but we can't let that hold us back. We got to move forward. We know that opportunity is coming out, and the sign up is starting Monday. We have no control over the good Lord's work for the weather-wise, but all of us collectively, we can get together and try to get it out, Lavelle, as of right now. To address those applications that's on file as already in the NRCS office, it will not apply for Act Now for these 3 categories. So they actually have to come in, sign a new application on Monday. They can't sign it up before Monday. They have to sign it up on Monday, and then they have 30 days to do. And then as the field office continue to start ranking, and they meet that threshold, it'll actually go on. Once they meet that threshold, we'll start working on them and funding those applications immediately. It won't be a waiting pool and a certain time for the pool. So it's going to be Act Now. You got to act now. And so we look for you, Lavelle, and the other organizations that may be on this call today to start getting that word out this weekend and next week as well. I have a radio spot today that I'm trying to get some of the information out on this Act Now to get it out to all the producers.
One last question, Bernard, and that
Yes,
is the only Praxis 325 that they can apply for up under the high tone program, or can they apply for crop rotation, residue management, or is 325 the only practice goes to high tone?
That's for the high tunnel, correct?
Yeah, we talked
That's
about
the only practice under the initiative is the high tunnel. And that's what Corey was talking about earlier, that we will have this initiative coming out for urban. That's where they can go in and put all the other practices in for your micro irrigation systems, cover crops and rotational grazing. I mean, not rotation grazing, but rotation cover crops and things like that can go under the new urban sign up that's coming out within the next 2 or 3 weeks. But yes, that's correct. Only the high tunnel is under that initiative. So just that's it on that practice.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Are there any other questions? All right, Travis, y'all back up and running? Do y'all still have a question? I know you had 2 or 3 producers in there, which is, did we answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my producers, well, they all kind of want to know 2 questions. The first question is, how are, what are the percentage rates that we're gonna pay on as far as the high tunnel goes? And then the second question is, how will that ranking, how do y'all calculate the ranking score?
How do you earn points?
How do you earn points? That's the question.
I'm gonna address the first question, and I'll let Corey address the second question, which is a good question. On the actual percentage-wise, we do have a regular, and we do have a HU category, which is HU, which is historically underserved category, which is potential to up to 90% of that practice for HU participant and beginning farmers. Now, question number 2, I'll let Corey address that one. Number 1.
Travis, can you repeat your question again for the second part? I know you were mentioning ranking, but can you repeat it for me?
Yeah, they pretty much want to know how are the scores being calculated for the high tunnel as far as ranking goes? How do they get the points?
What we did was when we build a ranking pool, we, like for high tunnel, for example, with us allowing that as the only practice in the pool, it has to be directly tied to a resource concern. So when NRCS does planning and assessment, when we assess that practice, the resource concern that's tied to that practice, we have a ranking system that gives it a computation score based on that practice addressing that resource concern. So the second part of the ranking is we develop ranking questions that's tied to that assistance. So there's a series of questions that the NRCS planner will go through with the participant. And if that participant has that issue on their farm or operation that can be addressed with that practice and can answer those questions successfully, then the NRCS will planner or fill office staff will rank that application based on that practice in our ranking system, and it computes a score. So what we did with the Act Now process is we took a typical situation or several typical situations in Arkansas, and we kind of did what we call like a mock ranking, and then we went through the process, tested it, and then we came up with like a median score. So like with high tunnel, with the score being 100, from the mock testing that we did, that is what we consider the fair score that should work and should be available. And all the producers who are interested in high tunnel should be able to answer those questions in the ranking. So that ranking score for high tunnel, it should be a threshold score that's easy attainable for the producers, and they can be eligible for this pool to receive assistance based on that ranking score. So that 100-point threshold, it's from our testing, is an easy attainable score with high tunnel. So did that answer your question, Travis?
Corey, can you still hear me? You hear me?
I couldn't hear you.
Okay, sorry, this is Keisha again. Thank you for answering that question. They pretty much need to get with their local conservationist, correct, go over the application and accrue their points. We had another question in the room. Yeah, what is the cap that you can spend on the high tunnel?
There is a practice cap, and sorry, I don't have it in front of me directly, but I will say, I think the practice cap is based on a 30 by 96 high tunnel structure. So I don't have the exact dollar amount in front of me. I apologize for that, but from my understanding, that practice cap is available towards a 30 by 96 structure. I can actually pull that here in 1 minute if you would allow me to, but I do know the structure is based on a 30 by 96. So I get that actual dollar amount here in just 1 minute. And I include that in the chat. Mr. Metter, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Corey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I got a question on the energy side of things. On threshold, and apologize for my ignorance, is that, when you say threshold, is that like qualifier? Is that what do you mean by threshold?
The ranking threshold is just the minimum score that qualifies for the ACNOW assistance right now. So when you turn in an application to the NRCS office and they go through the assessment and ranking process, as I mentioned a few minutes ago with high tunnel, the system computes a score. So that 50 points is the minimum score that's allowable for the assistance for the On-Farm Energy Act now.
Okay. And another question, say a producer has, I know they're going to start taking applications next week, then run for a month. Say a producer has a energy audit, Stanley Mathis came out and done it. We're just waiting for his report. Should that producer wait until we have that report in hand to fill out the application?
So the producer has, so let me see if I understand your question. So the producer has, is in the process of having an energy audit and just not quite sure if that audit would be already available starting on Monday. Is that the question? Okay.
Yes, sir. The audit's paid for, but Stanley can't get, he said he promised our conservation district the 1st of February.
Yeah.
He has a couple of them from our area.
Okay. The one thing I will say, Mr. Miller, is based on the ranking, that energy audit is going to be based on meeting that ranking threshold. So I believe if that audit is not in place, the field office staff will not be able to correctly rank it because they'll be taking guesses instead of just actually taking the information from that audit to be able to correctly rank an assist application. And so hopefully you can get your audit in place during the sign up period. I will say with the sign up period, if we do have funds that are left over after February 22nd, we have the flexibility of possibly announcing another sign up, what we call a batching period. So if we have funds available still after this period out of that $9 million, we'll have the flexibility to announce another sign up for the remaining funds that's left. So there could still be a possibility even after February 22nd.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Hey, Corey, this is Charlie Williams.
Hey, Mr. Charlie, how are you?
I am good, and hello to everyone. How much of this can still be done online? The farm number and farming tract number, as well as making an application for Act Now. Thank you.
Okay, I'll address the NRCS application side of it, and maybe Ms. Terry can speak to the eligibility side with FSA. But with NRCS, we can accept applications in person. We can accept applications by phone, by email, by fax, farmers.gov if you have a farmers.gov account. So we have flexibility of accepting applications with NRCS. So, I mean, you can call the local field office. You can, if you have email access to the local field office, or you can apply in person, or you can, if you have a farmers.gov account, you can apply through farmers.gov as well. So there is flexibilities and opportunities to do some of the application sign up online as opposed to just actually physically coming in person and filling out an application.
All right, Mr.
Kennard,
Charlie.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Terry. Go ahead.
All right. To address the farm number and tract number, if there is not one assigned to the land, it is probably better for the producer to go into the county office, because if they email us a deed, then we have to have personal identifiable information that is not protected by emails, be addresses, your social security number, things to that nature. So it's probably best that for those instances that they go into the county office so that all of the information is protected.
All right, thank you, Terry. Mr. Charlie, I'm gonna also add on a little to that. For the eligibility part of it for the program, if they have a farm number, tract number currently, the local NRCS office can actually take an application and go in and rank it. Now, the part of the AGI, it may not be eligible at the time, but it has to be eligible by the time obligation start on that part. So if they have a farm and tract number, now for new producers, it'd be a little bit more challenging than just producers that does not have the AGI on hand or the HEL on hand at that time. But if they do have a farm and tract number, they can go in and sign up Monday, and then they can do a ranking and an assessment on that and get the ranking score as of Monday. That eligibility for the AGI does not have to be at that time, but will have to be done before we can obligate. Hopefully did that answer your question, Mr. Charlie?
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you a lot.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions?
Hi, this is Michaela. I'm on McKinley's network because I couldn't log into mine, but with the issues that Jefferson County is having with zoning, with the inner city participants, and not just for Act Now, but for urban, do you all suggest that we have a conversation with them about the zoning issues and that the city has not been approving those high tunnels? And also, if they are funded with this Act Now being a sped up process and they're funded and obligated, and say they don't get funded, what conversation should we have with the participant? Or they don't get approved to have the high tunnel in the county, what conversation should we have with the participant from there if they are pre-approved for funding?
I'll let Corey address that.
Hey, good morning, Michaela. With the issue with the Jefferson County and the zoning, or if there's any county or any cities that may have zoning ordinances for high tunnels or structures, still encourage you to apply. That doesn't say you can't apply for assistance programs. The thing that may need to happen is producers may need to work with the city council in those cities to let them know what they're trying to do with the high tunnel. And there may be some ordinances where you have to have approval in advance, but we have flexibility with our NRCS policy. If there is something that's beyond the producer's control and a zoning ordinance, we do consider that's beyond a participant's control. Even if we are entering into a contract agreement, we have flexibility to where we may be able to get out that agreement based on whether or not that participant can get zoning approval in that city or in that county. So I would say just have that conversation with your producers and let them know that they may have to work with a city council in the city or the county or whatever county they're in on those zoning ordinances there.
Thank you.
There was a question in the chat that's asking about if you have existing applications already on file in NRCS, do you still need to apply with this Act Now program? And the answer to that question is yes. That's just simply contacting your local field office and say that I am interested in the Act Now program. This is a new sign up, so yes, you would have to apply for the Act Now sign up for these Act Now opportunities.
We also had a part two to that. This is as to the ranking score. Since I recently completed 2 energy practices, will my score and ranking drop? Or ranking drop? You might want to say that again.
So the question, there was a part two to that question, and it was asking if they recently installed some energy practices, what impact would that have on the existing application? The impact could vary. What I encourage you to do is work with your local NRCS field office. Still encourage you to apply, and the local field office will go through that process with you. And as we go through that ranking process, the system will determine if you still meet the ranking threshold. So it's still possible that you can meet the ranking threshold, just we don't know for sure until you actually go through the process with your local field office.
One from Jane. If a producer already has an application for a SHTN for 2024 program year, do they need to make a new application for the Act Now?
That's the same question.
That's the same question?
Yes.
Okay, this is from Jim Tate. My lane is bare right now. I have a farm and track number, but I have not begun yet. Am I eligible to apply for the Act Now and the Urban Project? So they have a farm number and a track number, but they haven't started anything yet. And they want to know, are they eligible to apply for the Act Now and the Urban Project?
Yes, you can still apply for the program, even though you hadn't started anything yet, because our NRCS policy states that whether or not you have an operation or you have the ability to produce and on your operation, so you can still apply. In the local field office will work with you to see which resource concerns you have there on your farm and what practices may be available in your situation based on your operation and based on your goals and objectives.
Đang bắt gà hôm qua anh với chuồng lúc mà em gọi lên lại em gọi em mà không thấy em trả lời em à. Hôm nay là gà đang ra này. Nó ra 6 bà nó ra 6 chuồng. Xong rồi thứ hai nó ra 1 chuồng. Quải luôn á. Sao? Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Doc, that you're talking. I'm sorry, we're having a hard time understanding you. If you would be able to add your question to the chat. I'm sorry, we're having a hard time understanding what you're saying. Could you add your questions to the chat?
Okay, this is from Ingrid, and she says, says, or he says, are the ranking criteria published anywhere?
The question is the ranking criteria published anywhere publicly? The answer to that question is no. We generally don't publish the ranking questions. You have to work with your local field office on the actual ranking questions. So to answer that is no, we don't publicize our actual ranking questions.
The next question is from Lisa. What are size limitations on high tunnels and how small can it be?
There is, the question is, are there size qualifications for a high tunnel? I'm not the high tunnel expert, so hopefully I don't misspeak on this, but I know the high tunnel has to be a minimum of 30 feet wide. Now, as far as how long the high tunnel is, as I mentioned, we can go up to 96 feet long. I think longest the high tunnel is 30 feet wide. There also is a smaller tunnel within high tunnel that we can pay, I believe, I believe we can pay up to as small as a 600 square feet high tunnel. So there is some minimums and maximums. I have to get back with you on that, or you can work with your local field office on those minimums and maximums. I'm not sure if any of our technical experts are on the call, but I know that as far as the maximum size, there's a 30 by 96, and I'm not sure exactly how small of a high tunnel we pay assistance on.
I have another high tunnel question from Faulkner County. How can you put in more than one high tunnel as long as it's under the practice cap?
The question is, can you install multiple high tunnels within the practice cap? The answer to that is yes. The practice cap is set in place for the maximum amount of high tunnel we can pay in a contract. So if you decide to do maybe some smaller high tunnels that equal up to that practice cap, then yes, that is allowable.
Another question. Does Act Now cover pasture establishment practices involving no-till of annuals or cover crops?
The question is, does the Act Now cover pasture establishment with no-till and cover crops? I believe the answer to that is no. The soil health is based on cropland soil health practices. There are some other opportunities with pasture. Make sure you reach out with your local field offices. There are some other funding categories where those pasture establishment practices, and we do have funds available with those other opportunities. But under the Soil Health Act Now, the question is no as far as pasture establishment, but we do have other funding opportunities where some of those practices can be available through pasture.
Answer for the minimum 10 feet wide high tunnel and maximum 30 feet wide high tunnels. That's from Katie. Right.
Yeah, so Katie answered the question on the minimum and maximum of the high tunnel. I think the minimum is 10 feet wide and the maximum is 30 feet. Thank you, Katie.
This is from Dina. How long does the producer have to implement practice, and how long after implementation will payment be made?
Let me address the second question first. The question is, as far as payment. So if you're awarded a contract with NRCS with the EQIP program, we pay assistance on that practice as you install it, and we determine that that practice meets our NRCS standards and specifications. So when you apply and if you are awarded a contract, the field staff will work with what we call a contract development and a practice schedule operations. So the local field office will work with you on that schedule operations to determine how much time you need to implement a practice that you awarded the contract. But once you have implemented that practice and it meets our standards and specifications, and we certify that that practice is completed, then upon that time frame, we'll immediately pay the assistance that we have available for that practice. So after you install that practice, we certify that it meets our standards and specifications, then we immediately pay the financial assistance that we have for that practice. Yes.
How long does the producer have to implement practice?
Generally, when we enter into a contract agreement with a producer, and the local NRCS office develops a plan of schedule operation with that producer in that contract, the producer has 12 months within the time that they've entered into that agreement to install if there's multiple practices in the contract, to install at least one practice in that contract. And then from there, that schedule operation can determine how much time you would need if there's additional practices in the contract. Now, as far as a contract, the length, our policy with EQIP and our NRCS programs is we cannot go more than 10 years in an EQIP contract. And generally, it's really 9 years because there is a 1-year maintenance period in the EQIP contract. So based on a schedule of operation and determining how many practices you have in your NRCS potential contract, you have to do something at least once a year in that contract, and we cannot go more than 9 years in a contract. Right, and with our Inflation Reduction Act, there's a sunset on those funds. So it's been determined that with contracts that we have with Inflation Reduction Act, 2031 is the sunset. So any contract that we enter into with Inflation Reduction IRA funds, they have to be expended by 2031. There's no exceptions to that. So by 2031 with IRA, all of those funds have to be expended. But with any of our general EQIP contracts, whether it's IRA or general EQIP funds, you have to do at least one practice a year in that contract, or you have to have a legitimate, you have to have some kind of reason why you were not able to get it completed in that time frame. But the first 12 months, you have to have something done within the first 12 months of the contract. Also, I want to acknowledge for any producer that is determined that self-certifies as historically underserved, we do have the advanced payment option, which means you could get up to 50% cost of the practice that we have determined in the contract upfront, and you have up to 90 days to complete that practice. So if you self-certify as a historically underserved producer, we do have an advanced payment option on any of our practices with EQIP.
We have a couple people that have raised their hands, and we'll go back to the questions on the chat. We have Kay Fair again.
Mr. Farrer, do you have a question?
Yes, I was wanting to respond to the question I think Ms. Martin had in regards to the farmers or producers' engagement with local municipalities. My question was leading to, are you guys aware of the exemptions for producers or those who have a right to farm. And this is something that keeps coming up in regards to different codes and things like that that's supposed to stop agriculture practices. As according to Arkansas Code subsection 780.905, it shows eligible employers entitled to claim exemptions from specific provisions. It's also the Arkansas Right to Farm Act, which safeguards offering protection to agriculture operations against certain legal actions and constraints. Also, Act 1441 of 2013, an exemption from state and local sales taxes for electricity, natural gas, and petroleum gas used by qualifying agriculture structures and qualifying aquaculture and horticulture equipment. And it's also a bunch of other exemptions. My question wasn't just to bring light to that, it was to, when we come to these said events, is there a proactive approach to letting farmers and producers know that they have exemptions when they're signing up for certain practices, when you're doing your ranking to keep disenfranchisement from taking place? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people wasn't aware of their right to farm and their exemptions with certain ordinances and acts to keep them from doing that in regards to their homestead exemptions and so forth. But can anyone speak to that, or is that something you have to get with me on a more personal note? But I think that needs to be addressed by everyone here.
Thanks for that comment and question, Mr. Fair. With that, as Kennard mentioned earlier, we are a non-regulatory agency. We work with our producers on a voluntary basis. So things of that nature, we can work with them as much as possible. But if you like to, yeah, we can connect with you later on offline, and we can continue these conversations to talk about. Oh, Mike.
One other thing, we partner with the state, so we can follow up with the State Department of Agriculture to see what they're doing.
Yes. Yes, a comment Mr. Sullivan just made. We partner with the State Department of Ag, so there may be something we can get with them about getting information out as well. So thank you for that question and that comment.
Mr. Marcus, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I was trying to see about if this initiative could be partnered. Like for instance, in the Jefferson County area, we have the Farm to School initiative that's going on with the EQIP program, and like, can that be partnered? Would that affect your eligibility in any type of way?
Let me ask you this question. When you mean partner, do you mean where you as an individual and another individual partner to apply together, or if you established or a joint venture or some kind of community partnership? Are you speaking to that nature? Are you speaking to individually, or are you speaking
Actually
to
both? Actually both. Would my eligibility be affected by if I was enrolled in another program, like the Farm to School, or in like getting the EQIP? Is that kind of proportionally affected, or does just, you know what I mean? Is it just one program and then I can qualify for the other? But basically what I'm looking to do is to put greenhouses in a way to, or high tunnels in a way to where schools can come work and learn. And would that affect my eligibility in any kind of way?
I believe the answer to that is no. It just depends on the Farm to School program. I'm not sure if that's a state or a federal program. I'm not real familiar with that. But it depends on what you're doing in that Farm to School program, the assistance you're receiving there. If it's directly different from NRCS assistance, then yes, you can still apply for NRCS assistance. and still have assistance through the farm to school program.
Yeah, so basically I'm trying to partner with the schools as well as the university in Jefferson County, as far as Arkansas is concerned, and then have them work to teach as far as ag education is concerned. Our brightest stars at the university as well as in the Pine Bluff School District. Is there a way that I can employ them in a program that would allow me to partner with the EQIP program, and does that affect my eligibility?
Now with the EQIP program, you're applying for conservation practices,
right?
Like the high tunnel. So that won't affect if you enter into an agreement with the local schools to provide assistance on outreach and actually teaching in your example. So I don't think that would affect your eligibility for applying for EQIP.
Okay.
So there's a question that needs to be repeated on the measurements of the high tunnel. The minimum footage for a high tunnel is 10 feet. The maximum high tunnel is 30 feet wide. And then the maximum for the smallest high tunnel that we pay assistance on is 600 square feet. So like a 20 by 30 or 30 by 20 or 10 by 60. So those are the minimum and maximum measurements for a high tunnel that we pay assistance on.
Will you pay on the installation of the high tunnel or just for the high tunnel?
The question is, do we pay for the installation of a high tunnel? Basically, the assistance that we provide for high tunnel, it's calculated for the high tunnel kit and installation. Whether or not you install it yourself or you have someone else install it for you, the assistance we pay is based on all of that. So we pay a flat rate for high tunnel per square foot, and that covers installing the high tunnel as well.
This is from Fulton County. Do we have to get a CR clearance, or is there a waiver that needs to be done before producers can commence the practice?
Yeah.
So that's a great question. We had this Act Now high tunnel sign up last year, and we worked closely with our ecological science staff, which our the people that review, our archaeologists that review the cultural resources. So in most cases, there isn't a concern, but we will still need to go through the process of requesting a cultural resource clearance. And typically, those have been turned around fairly quickly if it's just for a seasonal high tunnel.
You might want to ask them what's the question.
Okay. All right, so we received several great questions. We really appreciate you all. So before we transition to the next part, we want to make sure we have all questions answered. And if not, please unmute yourself and ask your question or type it in the chat. We'll give it a few seconds for you all to either come off mute or type in the chat.
All right. What is the rate per square feet of the high tunnel?
I believe Corey is typing that information inside of the chat for you all, along with the maximum amount that we'll pay. So I think he's getting that information for us right now.
And the next thing is from Payfair. Can the high tunnel be changed to an area with other shapes, given the fact that every landscape is different, avoiding discrimination?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Can the high tunnel be changed to an area with other shapes, given the fact that every landscape is different?
Okay, so the question is asking about the shape of land dealing with the high tunnels. I would say I'm not particularly sure about the shape per se, but the land should be eligible. So I would still encourage you to at least put the application in. And as a field office representative, you know, it's our responsibility to come out and actually evaluate and look at it. So I would not encourage the shape of your land to discourage you from putting in an application.
Excuse me. Can I?
Yes.
I was the one that answered that question. I don't think it was taken the correct way. This is Mr. Fair
Okay.
again.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Fair. Thank you.
A lot of producers that we run across have unique landscape, and I'm not speaking about topography. I'm speaking about where they want their high tunnel to be on their particular property, and it may not be conducive to a rectangular shape. Can the shape of the high tunnel be amended to fit certain people's parameters? Or could that, instead of being a 10 by 30, could it be just whatever a general area? Like the high tunnel has to cover a certain area versus giving strategic or specific dimensions to accommodate certain producers. That way you'll cut out the discriminatory factor saying that everyone has to have land like this with these particular parameters? Or is there a way to be more inclusive in that? I think that's what I'm mostly asking for. Is there a way for the high tunnel to be reevaluated to be more inclusive for those with unique spaces?
Okay.
And I thank you again.
Great question. So looking at that aspect, if there is an odd shape, that's where I think Mr. Cornelius was talking about earlier. We have those opportunities for those smaller high tunnels, and we also have a practice that will be available on our urban sign up. And we also have a practice called low tunnels. So there can be ways that we can flex, but at the same time, as you understand, we do have our certain designs and standards and specs that we have to follow. But I'm sure that there is some type of flexibility there where you can work with your local field service center as well as the manufacturer of the seasonal high tunnels. So great question. I appreciate that.
Well, the reason I was asking because we have some models of customizing the high tunnels that you guys have, but we don't know how to get those practices approved by you guys the way we can get them out to more producers. We have 3 different unique models that tackle what you guys already have in place. But a lot of farmers are scared to be labeled ineligible, or, if it's not signed off on, it may cause them some type of problems down the line.
I appreciate that, Mr. Fair. If you could, I'm interested in the topic and discussing this more with you. If you could you please connect with me and we can continue this? I'll put my email address in the chat and we can do some additional follow-up and if needed, cast it out abroad to this entire audience. So appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you again for having me. Y'all have a great day.
Absolutely. You as well. Are there any more verbal or written questions? All right. As we come to a conclusion of this meeting, one word that describes it is wow. We really appreciate the interaction of you all, especially our producers and potential applicants. One thing that we are passionate about is reaching out to people that we never have before. So if you're in person, we have a favor request. If you were able to attend one of the in-person local meetings, please let your district conservationists or soil conservationists, whoever may be holding the meeting, let them know that you are a new customer, and we will continue to connect with you. By new, our definition of new is you may have never entered an application with NRCS for NRCS assistance, or even had an in-depth conversation about how we can help you from a financial or technical standpoint. And if you are a participant who has dialed in today, if you could, please type in new and your county inside of the chat. And that way we'll be able to connect with you via your Zoom registration and follow with you via email and try to get things rolling for you. So once again, we really appreciate everyone. We know we had a couple of technical difficulties, but we made it through. So with that, I will let you all. And also, I would be remiss if I did not give a huge thank you to Extension Service, Ms. Rita Watson. She has really helped us get this meeting out through this mechanism. We couldn't have done it to this magnitude without the help of UADA, so we're greatly appreciative for that. And once again, thank you to our folks who were able to open their doors and have a local outreach meeting. So with that, okay, and we will leave this line open until we have addressed the question, any written questions that we said we have follow-up on, as well as our contact information, especially our outreach coordinators, because they will likely be the ones who connect with you all who type in new in the chat. And we will make sure that this recording is shared abroad. So thank you all for your time today, and we look forward to working with and connecting with you all in the future. Thank you.